Yeah, I guess. I mean, they took
Well,
that thing home
don't
with them.
play the moral high ground with me. You was going to count the bloody iguana that was in a
I didn't know it was a
somebody's
zoo.
garden.
Another.
Hello, I'm Nipper Reed.
And I'm Phil Wolf.
So, settle down, have a nice cup of tea, and enjoy the Venomous Exchange Radio podcast.
Crumpets, Nipper. I want the crumpets.
Well, as you've been such an extraordinarily good boy.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a little while since we last spoke. I'm very lucky to have the rather wonderful Philippe Wolf with me again.
Hello.
How have you been, mate? What's been going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just soaking in this atrocious summer heat.
Oh, please. It's July here. It's the height of our summer, and it's torrential, absolutely torrential rain.
Oh, I'm getting rain every evening around 5 or 6 o'clock for like 2 hours, and then I get 1,000,000,000% humidity for the rest of the night. So I'm swimming in it.
I've sadly had to cancel. I was supposed to be going to Zamos to try and find Vipera xanthina.
Nice.
Europe's largest viper. I've seen it before, but some of my friends haven't seen it, so we were going to do a trip to try and get that. There is absolutely no point. Most of Greece is on fire at the moment. Temperatures out there are just absolutely ridiculous. There is no herping to be done. So sadly, that'll have to wait till next year. I have to make do with our Florida trip, which is coming up very, very soon.
Faster than you think, man. I'm so excited.
I am really excited. You know, I know we've just been talking before, but for me, it's completely unique habitat to start field herping in. I can't even think of somewhere I've been that will have a similar habitat other than maybe Borneo. But yeah, certainly, I mean, I've only done 2 or 3, I've actually done 3 United States trips, but they've been desert. It'd be amazing.
Coming to the swamp, baby.
Yeah, see some amphibians.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully see some rattlesnakes that I haven't seen before. It'd be great.
Well, and you're going to be coming in a little bit early, so I get to kidnap you and take you to some spots in the South where we're not going to be staying with the other NPR boys. So we'll try and get more ticks on the list. You know?
100%. I'm super excited. I mean, to be fair, I know it's old news for you, but if I see an alligator, I will lose my shit because
you're going to see a lot of alligators, man.
Well, you say that until I've seen one, but yeah, that'd be mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we've got the trifecta. We've got the pygmy rattlesnake. We've got the coral snake. We've got the cane breaky type things. Eastern diamondbacks.
Atrachodatus for life.
Yeah. Eastern diamondbacks as well. That would be very, very cool.
It's going to be great, man. I'm fucking stoked. I really am. But it's funny because our guest for this episode also recently did a North Florida trip, from what I gather. Many of you on the Instagram may have seen his amazing photography. With us tonight is Jack, the Roadtrip Monster from Instagram. What's up, Jack?
How's it going?
Dude, the photos, the species,
the photos.
They're killer, man. It's just, well, yeah.
I really appreciate it. It's kind of funny you say that because I don't think of myself as much of a photography guy. You know, it's sort of a means to an end. I love documenting what I see. But yeah, it's always kind of nice when I get that feedback. It's a great compliment, but I'm really out there just trying to find snakes and other wildlife. So over the years, I've kind of fidgeted and fumbled through the settings and the gear, and I kind of am proactive about learning before I go out. But yeah, man, I appreciate the feedback. It's nice to hear that because I do spend a lot of time and hours trying to get good shots, and yeah, I do my best.
Well, put a pin in that. We'll come back because I've got lots of geeky questions for you. But first of all, why field herping? How did you get into that?
Man, I think my earliest childhood memory was probably flipping over rocks and looking at bugs. And I was always just really into Tarzan and Steve Irwin and
Who was your Tarzan?
Tarzan was just it was an animated Tarzan. So
he's talking about Disney Tarzan. He's
Oh,
younger than
my
us.
yeah.
God,
Yeah,
such a
I know.
millennial.
I'm the worst. But
Not Johnny
that was
Vice
my
Miller.
Tarzan. My dad
Yeah, okay.
did show me the old Tarzans where they had kind of like almost a film movie. So I got exposed to that a little bit, but
Thank God.
yeah, no, I've always been drawn to the outdoors and to wildlife. And at some point along the way, I found myself catching green and knolls. I'd get all the neighborhood kids and convince them to go catch lizards. And I knew about snakes. I just was never finding them. And one of these days, as I got older, I started stumbling into them in my backyard and things. And I thought they were just so cool. They just got my adrenaline pumping, and they're all neat and different colors. And at that time, I really didn't know anything about them. And I think I kind of just started doing my own thing. I started getting into sports and other hobbies. And I think around like 6th grade, 5th grade, YouTube came up, and I found some videos of what was called herping. I'd never heard a word for it before. I just knew that I liked snakes. And so when I found out there was this whole community of people that all liked the same thing that I did, it really sparked my interest. And I started researching all the different species and like really getting into it, And then, of course, I think I took a big break during the college years and a lot of high school. I was a soccer player and really focused on that and drinking and hanging out with my friends. So I kind of lost touch for a little while there. But when I graduated college, I moved to Las Vegas. A lot of people might know me formerly as Las Vegas Wildlife on Instagram. So that was when I kind of made a life decision not to pursue wildlife as a career, but to make it a really serious hobby and put some time and effort into it and develop an Instagram page and kind of, just do it on the side as something that, a passion that I can kind of hope maybe one day might turn into a career. But yeah, so it's sort of my side gig for right now, but
it's awesome.
Definitely where my passion is at.
Now, do forgive me because I'm not good with American accents. Whereabouts are you always from Las Vegas? Are you born and bred Las Vegas or?
No, I was born in the Houston area, and I went to college in Fort Worth over at TCU, and then I graduated and moved to Las Vegas for about 2.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I took a job out there.
But you're back in Texas now?
Yep. It's been a good 2-3 years now that I've been back in the Houston area. I bought a house backed up to a greenway, and I'm just getting settled in and finding snakes whenever I can.
That's great. So you said you did quite a bit of herping in Vegas?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Okay, that's interesting because I've just come back from Vegas.
Oh, cool.
I didn't herp in Vegas itself because we went over the border into Utah.
Nice.
I was just wondering what sort of species you were finding in Vegas. First of all, Las Vegas, for anyone who hasn't been there, is absolutely tiny. I thought it was going to be such a massive place because it's so famous. And there's about 3 people that actually live in Las Vegas.
I mean, the Strip is famous,
Yeah.
That's
but everyone in the world's heard of Las Vegas. It's just like the holiday Mecca place.
Yeah.
And it was tiny. There's about 4 houses and a casino. That's it.
That's because they don't want you. They don't want you to leave the casino. That's why.
Yeah. But what sort of, because it is, I mean, it's hardcore desert. What sort of species?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point there. That's one of the reasons why I loved it is it's you can drive right outside the town and you're in remote, no man's land kind of deal. And that's changing a little bit. That's sort of an emerging theme. But back to the reptiles and stuff around Vegas on the western side, you've got Panamint rattlesnakes. On the eastern side, you've got speckled rattlesnakes, and there's sort of like an integrated zone. I never found anything that was mixed, but Gila monsters are rare but possible. You know, Mojave rattlesnakes, western diamondback rattlesnakes. Of course, you got the cerastes, sidewinders. And then, you know, you pretty much got like most of, I wouldn't say there's anything extra in Las Vegas that you couldn't find in California or Arizona, but it's got all the basics. You got the Fiernos, the horned lizards, you know, all your different colubrids. You can even get mountain kings like, you know, an hour or two north. And also you can get Great Basin rattlesnakes about 45 minutes to an hour north. That, don't quote me on it, but something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see pyros and the Great Basin rattlesnakes just like into Utah.
Nice.
And just the pyros, incredible.
Wow. See, I didn't even, I knew they were out there, but I didn't think they were like findable.
Well,
cool.
neither did we. I mean, it took us probably an hour to find them, so you know that wasn't easy. But
You can't say it like that. Jeez. You stumbled across them in about an hour.
In an hour. It's tactical. It's completely planned.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so dark. You know, almost. You know, more black than anything else. Just absolutely stunning. Really,
That's
really
cool.
beautiful.
That's great.
And the latosis, the variation in the latosis from site to site, it was amazing. You know, you've got the, what did you call them? Orioles, cookies and cream.
Yeah, cookies and cream, man.
Yeah, cookies
Those
and
are
cream.
my favorite.
The cookies and cream latosis.
But also, like, sort of almost more prairie rattlesnake green phase. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And that can't be more than a couple of hours away from Vegas.
Yeah.
No, that's one of the great, I mean, a huge factor for why I moved out there was you can drive a few hours in any direction and be in some of the coolest national parks and just land that our entire country has to offer, in my opinion.
For sure.
You know, it's just a great central location. Vegas itself, you know, isn't maybe the number one top destination, but you still have Valley of Fire State Park. You got Red Rocks. You've got Mount Charleston, which is like this higher elevation area where you can see elk and mountain lion and things like that. And then, of course, you drive, like I said, a few hours in any direction, and you're in California, you're in Arizona. You can go to the Grand Canyon in a few hours. I mean, it's just really well located.
That's great. Now, were you in Vegas proper, or were you like in Boulder, or?
I was right on Fremont Street, like on the street. So it was a funny time period of my life. A lot of friends visiting and drinking and getting in trouble, but also trying to like get my life together and be a business guy. So it was a fun couple of years. You know, I was just figuring it out, getting my feet underneath me.
Nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
So, and then you've moved home to Texas.
Yep.
So, forgive me, I've never been to Texas. It's on my list. Phil's desperately trying to get me to go to Texas, and I'm all over that. So, what's the herping like in Texas?
It's great, man. I mean, we've got more species in Texas than anywhere else in the U.S., and that's relative. Obviously, we got a lot of space.
It happens to be the largest state, you know.
Exactly, by a long shot. So I can't really tout that, but it's true. It's a fact. So I mean, you can drive and find whatever, but around the Houston area, it's more of like a integrated zone of like coastal wetlands and post oak savannas and kind of swampy habitat and pine forests. There's a lot of pine stuff. So we've got a ton of diversity. Unfortunately, exactly where I'm located is like 30 minutes south of timber and pygmy rattlesnake range. Is 30 minutes north of western diamondback range. So I'm just like in this little sliver that doesn't have rattlesnakes, and it pisses me off so bad. And that's how I've grown up my whole life. Why I chose to buy a house back where I was always complaining about, I don't know, but you know, it's a lot of diversity in Texas. I've been taking some trips out west, which has been really fun. I hadn't been able to go out there when I lived here when I was younger. So it's been super cool to get introduced to all of those western Chihuahuan desert species. and I've taken a couple rocker runs to South Texas as well. Nothing to complain about there. You get all those like northern Mexican species and speckled racers, cat-eyed snakes, indigos. So
yeah.
you know, for a road trip guy, it's not a bad spot to be. I can eat a 10-hour road trip, no problem, and be in good habitat.
Absolutely. I mean, crap, man. I'm in southeastern Florida, and just because of all the urban expansion and suburban areas, I have to drive at least an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to any kind of legitimate wilderness. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of stuff in our backyard per se, but you're 10 times more likely to find it if you go to actual wilderness. So you driving 30 minutes south or 30 minutes north, good on you.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I picked a spot real strategically. I was like, if I'm going to buy a house, I got to make sure I've got access to wildlife and to the things that I love. So it took me a while, but I landed in a great little spot. And I'm backed up to a big nature preserve with a creek running through it. And it's, like I said, no rattlesnakes, but I can on any given day go and see some pit vipers, at least lots of copperheads, and then just a ton of diversity. We got buttermilk racers and green snakes and all the lamprey peltis, although I never fucking find them. But lots of diversity. But if you ever think,
muted.
Oh,
I was going to say, you mentioned your speckled racer.
mm-hmm.
I was looking at your photographs of the speckled racer on your Instagram, and just outstanding, absolutely
Thanks.
outstanding. Yeah, what a fantastic species. We need to tick that one off 100%. 100%.
That was the species that I had marked in my book when I was a little kid as like the number one. It was the best. And I don't know if I would argue that these days because I'm more of a rattlesnake guy, but yeah, man, it was a childhood dream to see one of those things. I was completely stoked when I found it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to me, it almost looks like one of the Asian killbacks. It's a really, really stunning snake. Also on your Instagram, you have got coral snakes.
Yeah, that took a while, but I got them.
That is a great find. Sonoran coral. Beautiful. Yeah. Now, Phil and I have been lucky enough to see one in the wild, and it was lucky enough to see one.
Yeah, pure luck.
Pure luck. And it's just mind-blowing. But where was yours? Where did you, without giving a specific site away?
It was the Phoenix area. It was just a little bit north of Phoenix.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Just completely stumbled on, or?
So I can't take credit for that one. That would be my buddy Life of Ian on Instagram, life.of.ian. Yeah, we were just poking around. It was sort of like late in the day, early spring. To be honest, he was kind of up the side of a hill looking for croats and rock piles and that kind of thing. Last thing he expected to see was a coral snake on the crawl, but sure enough, he yells coral snake, and we're all scrambling up some mountainside and
passing over all the croats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't mind a good elapid, man. I don't see them as much, but they're hard to target.
So now you've seen all 3 U.S. corals, correct?
No, I have not seen the Eastern yet.
Oh, thank God. All right, good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it may look like, if you scroll through my Instagram for a couple minutes, it looks like I find a lot of coral snakes. I've seen 3 in my entire life. And they've been a real pain in the ass for me. I've got multiple sob stories of how I almost got one or got one. And then when I got my camera out, it disappeared, things like that. So, it took me literally 25 years of my life to get a Texas coral snake. And I've been in their habitat range my entire life. I've had family, friends, and people send photos of the coral snake in their backyard. And I'm just like, where are y'all finding these things, man?
It's always the way. Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. 23 years. I have not found an Eastern.
Dang.
This
They're
trip.
they're the largest, right, in terms of size.
I don't know. I thought Texas was. I
It
mean,
could
I know
be.
Sonorans are tiny.
I might be getting them mixed up with the
I mean, it could
Indigos.
very well be. I've had plenty of people call me and come get them. And hey, is this a coral? Yes, it is. And drive to their house and they got it in a bucket. But I've never found one on my own. Like I haven't even been with friends herping, and one of them found it. Like I can't. Like that hasn't even happened. So
Would you count? So if you was called to someone's house and they had one in a bucket,
yeah,
and then you went and released it in the wild,
yeah.
would you not count that?
As like a find during as seeing it in person,
As
absolutely.
seen in situ? Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
count that. As long
I
as it
would-
was in habitat. If you're releasing it in habitat, I would.
I don't know, man. That's tough. That's tough. That's like when we were in West Texas. Some I don't want to use the bad P word, but some poachers had a lepidus in a bucket. I didn't count that.
Yeah.
No, but if you released it in the same habitat,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they took that thing home
don't
with them.
play the moral high ground with me. You was going to count the bloody iguana that was in a.
I didn't know it was a
somebody's
zoo.
garden.
I didn't know that it was a pet, and I didn't know. I thought it was native there. How am I supposed to know it was 200 miles east of the range? Anyway, I digress. And yeah, the problem is I don't think I ever released those corals. They just came home with me. So, yeah. But back to Jack.
Back to Jack.
I'm kind of with you, Phil. Honestly, I'm sort of pish posh about my like finds. If I didn't find it myself, I'm like, it's like half of a find.
Yeah, but see, I'm not like that at all. So like, if the three of us are out herping and you and Jack finds the coral, that counts as us finding the coral,
100%.
right? But like, if Jack calls me and says, "Hey, man, I just found a coral in my yard. Come over and see it," and I got to drive over to his house, that doesn't count. He
Fair
got
enough.
it. I didn't.
Yeah. I used to really be like a lone wolf herper. I don't really know particularly why. Maybe I was just kind of intimidated by the whole thing and the knowledge and the words and lingo. So I just sort of did my own thing for the most of my life. And I sort of prided myself on just going out there and grinding it out and having no help or whatever and just figuring it out. These days I'm a lot more open to just herping with people. It's actually been really great getting to know people in the community. They're not as bad as you think sometimes when you see somebody just getting roasted at the stake, for doing something wrong or whatever it may be. No, there's a lot of really great people in this community. And so I've been learning a lot from them and herping with them and yeah, like sharing spots and going to cool places and getting showed around. So definitely more open to all that these days.
So local to you, what's your go-to rattlesnakes? Blacktails, probably.
So nearest to me, like I'd say Western Diamondbacks and Timbers are kind of the more feasible for like and then again, man, I've spent a long time looking for Timbers around this area and only seen one. I don't have a lot of luck with rattlesnakes in my home state, which is sort of funny. Like I've seen so many more out west than I have here. They're just a little harder. Like I feel like out west, you've got some really kind of like understandable conditions to work with. It's like, it's so hot in the desert that if any kind of weather affects it, you sort of know how the snakes are going to react. Whereas in Texas, water is abundant everywhere. It's very humid and the weather just does its own thing, and the snakes are just trickier and the habitat is denser. And so I don't know, rattlesnakes have kind of been difficult for me out here, but I've got a handful, and I have been going out west and finding that the blacktails are fairly common out there. Seen some Mojaves recently, of course, some Western Diamondbacks as well. I did get that red lep, which is originally, I think when we started talking, Phil, that was a crazy one.
Dude, the lep.
I don't deserve that snake. It was a
Dude,
beauty.
the lep, the Crotalus lepidus of all lepidus.
So it really was that good then.
It was. It's literally as if you had taken, or figuratively, excuse me, if you had taken a Lepidus and just dunked it in red Kool-Aid and then lit it on fire in all of its demonic glory, right?
Yeah, man, it was
And
my lifer.
And you can hear and forgive me if don't take this offense, it's a compliment. You can hear the tremor in Jack's voice as he's walking with it in the bite-proof glove, going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Like, look at this thing. And like other people were like, oh my God, in the background. What I would have done to be a chuckwalla on the wall for that one.
Dude, it was like I've been really excited and stoked for snakes before, but I shit you not, I was like you know those like movies where you see people do the side hug and bounce up and down, like giggling and laughing like little girls? That was me and my buddy, man. We'd just been grinding it out. We had been no sleep team, just 24/7, West Texas all night long.
That's how you do it.
And we'd kind of like gotten to a point where we were just stumbling and fumbling around. We had found a blacktail. We were kind of carrying the team on that trip, and so my buddies were photographing it, and we walked off. And so what happens is my buddy's just kind of like thumbing around. He's that looks like a snake. So we walked back like 30 yards to the left. And he's like, yeah, man, that thing got me so good. It looked just like a snake. I was like, yeah, dude, that sucks, man. We haven't seen anything. And then he takes a few steps to his right. So this was an area he just walked past. And I'm kind of like thumbing around, looking at some rocks, just shining. And he's like, dude, get over here. Like, just get over here. And I know something's up, right? Like I'm like running over, and I put my flashlight where he has his. And it takes like, a half a second or whatever for my eyes to kind of realize what I'm looking at. And so like the first thought is that's a mottled rock rattlesnake. And I'm already like shitting my pants. And then I look at it and realize it's like not just any mottled rock rattlesnake. It is a screamer red one. And kind of the like level of happiness that hit me was just hard to manage, man. It was like just so exciting, and such like a reward. We'd really been busting it out that trip, and we kind of started at first. It was like small stuff, little ring necks and garters and things, and kind of puttering along, and then boom, we got a prairie rattlesnake, and boom, another prairie rattlesnake. And so it was kind of like escalating, and then we find a blacktail, and things are going pretty good, and then the mottled rock rattlesnake just sealed the deal, and I was like, okay, let's just go home. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, man. And I've had that moment before. I've had that moment with Nipper before when we found our Willardy, but dude, that animal is a once in a lifetime animal. Now, again, without giving away spots or anything, that was a Southeast Davis lep.
Yeah, let me think on that.
I mean, like I said, don't give too much away.
Yeah, that is directionally, that is correct.
Okay, just going off of color,
Yeah,
because dude, all that rock out there. I can't remember. I want to say it's igneous, but it's very slaty gray on the outside, very very sandy on the outside. But when it gets cracked or chipped on the inside, it's blood red.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, those leps, oh man.
Yeah, no, I what was funny is, you'll scan through iNaturalist sometimes just to kind of see what's out there. And
sure,
of course, people always post the best of the best, right? And when we like compared what we saw to the 80, 90 iNaturalist sightings in that area, we were seeing some really great snakes, man, some very red Lepidus, and ours was easily in the top 3 or 5 of that whole like. And so again, like I didn't deserve that snake, man. There've been people out there looking their whole lives, and you might never come across an individual like that.
What it is, yeah, 100%.
It was gravid too. It was
really.
big gravid female. We let her go. I came back later, a few weekends later, just poked around the same area, thinking maybe I'd get lucky with some babies, but
Yeah, there it
yeah,
is.
there's the video. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
What do you think? Are they hex armor gloves?
So
Venom
that
defender. Venom
that
defender.
snake bit the glove, so it worked. Those aren't my hex gloves. It's a buddy of mine. He brings them along. They're kind of nice for like talus slides and screet slides and things where you're sort of like trying to deal with small bodied rattlesnakes in rock piles that can easily kind of like dip off. It's honestly, in my opinion, a little bit of like a safer way to do it for the snake and for you, because you're not worrying about clamping down too hard on tongs or tweezers or anything. And if it's a real small snake, you can kind of hook it and then just tail it with that hex glove, and you're pretty much covered. And yeah, like I said, I've seen it. I've seen him take a few bites with the hex glove, and I myself have as well, and they work. So I don't have them. I actually don't even know where he got them. But one of these days I'll probably get a pair of my own.
Yeah, the hex armor ones. I personally have not played with Venom defenders, but the hex armor ones, I've messed around with them, and I personally find them way too cumbersome and clunky for anything in captivity, for me at least.
Gotcha.
But in the field, doing like what you did in the video, where you basically tweezered it or hooked it, and you're just holding it in your hand so that you can get good photos, I don't think there'd be a problem with that. However, I do have a friend who, and obviously this is case by case basis, who put water balloons in one and had an adamantius hit it, and all the water balloons popped. So, but now we're talking about a much, much, much bigger snake.
Yeah. I'll keep that in mind though.
Yeah,
Next
like
time
I
I let a rattlesnake bite those things
if
with my
if
hand
you
in it.
said, hey man, pick up this lepidus, or hey, scoop up this sidewinder or a small copperhead, no problem. But like I would never use those on like an Atrox or like a big mojo, a big Scutellatus. I would never do that personally.
No, and at that point, like it only travels up your forearm, maybe like a foot. So I mean, at that size, you're already taking risks just by reaching down at that thing.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fang size.
But dude, like the red snake against the black glove with like the car headlights, like dude, that's a dream right there, man. You got lucky.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, I hesitated posting that video. It's just too cool to not share.
You have to.
I took it. I knew it was a good video. And yeah, sometimes I'm a little worried about posting videos with rattlesnakes. Like I said, there's just a lot of opinions out there, and I've recently tried to do a better job of just like, I know that I'm ethical. I know that I'm out there doing the right thing. If people want to get worked up about what I'm doing, then that's on them. But so yeah, I kind of hesitated, but I was like, nah, man, the people got to see this one. This is a cool freaking snake.
Now, forgive me, but have you not posted actual photos of that snake yet? Just the video, right?
I have not posted photos yet. I've been bad about that. I'm a busy guy, and I like to take the time to really like go through my photos and edit them well. And so I haven't gotten to them yet, but I'm getting there. They'd probably be edited in less than a week or two, posted in maybe a month or two.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
So while we're talking about photos, what kit are you using?
So I have always been a Nikon guy.
Okay, I love the fact that you use the same equipment as me, but it's Nikon.
Is it like Nipper?
It's Nikon, but there is Canon and there is Nikon, and if you use Canon, it's basically dog shit. So well done.
To be honest, I sometimes wonder, like, I see some of the work coming out of Canons, and I don't know, man, they're pretty crisp images, but I like Nikon because I'm used to it. I know how to work it, and the durability has held up. I haven't ever had a Canon, but man, all my different Nikon cameras have been just thrashed and banged around and gone through some some weather, and they've all held up. So I think I'll probably stick with them. But
I completely agree. I mean, I'm only joking about Canon. My friend Frank takes pictures that I will never take anything as good as, and he only uses Canon. But I've used both platforms, and I think you're exactly right. When I've been in the field, Canon, the build quality just doesn't seem as good, and I was forever having to get repairs or replace lenses or replace the actual camera bodies. It just didn't seem to stand up, particularly in sandy sort of desert environments. It just wasn't. And my Nikon, I've dropped it, it's rolled down hills and it gets slung in the back of the car and all that sort of stuff. I don't think personally you could do that with Canon. I just think Nikon has just got that little bit better for outdoor field work.
Yeah,
that's good to hear. It kind of reinforces my assumption, I guess. I really haven't experienced a lot of Canon work, but yeah, that's just kind of my general impression. But I got a D500, sort of geared for wildlife photography. You can do real fast shutter speeds, and I've messed around with the long exposure features from time to time. And I've got a handful of lenses. All of them are hand-me-downs, except for obviously the stock lens. Actually, the whole camera was, it was bought off somebody that had used it lightly. But so that, I guess, in that case, then none of it except for the zoom lens is brand new. But yeah, I've got a Tamron zoom lens. It's like 150 to 600 millimeters. The stock kit lens is like 16 to 80. And then I have this old beat up 200 millimeter that I never use. And then a wide angle and a macro that I purchased off of a friend.
What macro are you using? Because your macro shots are really good.
Honestly, man, I don't even know. I could run downstairs and find out.
I was going to ask, is it the Nikon fixed 105 macro?
No, it's adjustable. I know that. Or is it not, man? This is what I mean. Like, I'm really not much of a camera guy. I don't know. Now that I think about it, I think it is fixed, and maybe I'm thinking of the focus as being what the adjustment dial. Yeah.
But your macro shots are absolutely beautiful. I was just looking at, you've got it is a Mountain King. I think it's Sonata you've got on there.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, the other thing is anyone can get a nice picture of a snake in their collection because you can control the lighting, you're controlling the movement, the weather. But to get crisp macro outdoors when you're battling against lighting and you're battling against dust and the animal being freaked out and trying to move is so hard.
Yeah.
And some of your shots on there are absolutely crisp as really, really beautiful.
Well, I really appreciate it. And again, I look at some of my friends who I've learned a lot from and seen their photography, and I look at them as kind of like the good photographers. So it's funny to hear that. It's nice to hear that. And I think really for me, it's not that I'm per se like a good photographer or that I know all the equipment and what to do in certain situations. I'm really just a trial by error and kind of like hunker down, and I don't mind getting dirty and laying in the ground and crawling up into weird spots to get the shot I want. Maybe I'm creative or good at framing the shots. I might have a good eye for that, but as far as lighting and stuff, man, I struggle.
It doesn't look like you're struggling, I've got to be honest. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you can know every ISO, every f-stop, but if you haven't got a good eye for a picture, your pictures aren't going to be great. Yeah. And I think some of it is setting the animal up, and some of it is choosing the right background for the animal, and just knowing how the lighting's hitting the subject at that particular time.
Yeah.
And as I say, I don't know if you take like 1 million photographs and just keep one. I mean, we all take a lot of photographs, but the pictures on your Instagram, outstanding, really, really lovely. Are you using Photoshop as an editing platform?
I actually don't run any of my photos through Photoshop. Every once in a while, like I played around with it, just trying to learn and get better and stuff. But I usually end up just sticking to Lightroom. It does most of what I need it to, and I edit my photos a good bit, but I have the intention in mind of how can I make this image look like how I felt like it looked like when I saw it. Because a lot of times you get out there, you see the snake, it's amazing, and you take photos of it and you go back and you're like, man, this doesn't look like anything like how I remember.
Exactly.
So I'm not ashamed to say that I'll kind of edit things a little bit, saturate things and change the lighting to
100%.
kind of recreate what I saw.
And that's I was going to ask you that, because one of my favorite things about your photos is having seen a lot of this stuff in the wild myself, and then having kept this stuff in my home myself. Your lighting is exact, like those animals look exactly like they're supposed to, and that's tip top, man. Just tip top.
I appreciate that. That's a really great compliment, because that's really what I'm trying to do. Is that I don't want to make it look like more than what it is, or less than what it is. So I'm just kind of shooting for doing justice to the animal, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're always going to have those individual specimens, or even those individual species where you can never capture it. I mean, Nipper and I had Cerberus on our last trip, and the pictures that I took with my cell phone, the animal was jet black with the yellow flecking. And then our friend Rob, his photos were kind of a matte charcoal with some white and yellow. And then you look at Nipper's photos and they were downright purple. And the snake was all of those things. You know what I mean? And I can say probably with confidence, and nothing against Rob, but I think Nipper's purple photos were probably the closest to the real thing. But again, it'll never be right. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So, but you're doing a bang up job, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I think you're right in saying as well that for me personally, and I'm sure for you two as well, when you're field herping, the initial excitement is I've got to find this species. That's all you're focused on. I need to find the species. And then it's like a gambler. I've got to try this. I've got to try that. One more rock. One more rock. And then you find it and there's a massive euphoria. But it's almost like somebody trying to come off crack or something and having something else. The photographing really helps. It's such a good... almost a come down, but you take your photographs and then you're back home, and when you get that photograph that, as you say, looks exactly like how you saw it, it's another realization type thing. I mean, this week I've been going through the Utah photographs.
Nice.
And I must have taken it in Utah. I filled a memory card, so shooting raw. So there was about 500 to 600 pictures. And yet I only like probably 20 to 30 pictures on there.
Wow.
Because those are the ones to me that really capture what it was like to see that.
Yeah.
How do you get on photographing at night? Because unfortunately, a lot of the stuff we find, we're road cruising and stuff. So you're shooting at night and trying to light at night without making it, just because snakes are quite glossy. Mm-hmm. Without trying to get the reflection on is really difficult.
Yeah, it's just funny to get these questions, because I think of myself as such like a camera idiot. But I think like when I was younger, I had one of those pop-up flashes, so I really didn't have to worry too much. I just trusted the auto settings or whatever. These days I have a transmitter that I never use because I never can get it to freaking work. And I think it's more just me being dumb than like a equipment malfunction. But I think sometimes the photography part stresses me out. Like I've got this snake and I feel like to some extent the clock is ticking. Like you don't want to just spend hours with the snake. You want to get in and get out and let the snake do its thing. So the clock's ticking. I'm like stressed out. I'm fumbling through my bag, getting the things out. What's worked for me is just trying to keep it simple. If I can get like one controllable variable, like the distance right, okay, like my flash is outputting the same amount of light, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna move back to get the lighting I want, zoom in a little further, and that's good enough for me. And I think there's a little bit of magic that we find when it comes to snakes in general and also photography, where like just being in the right place at the right time with the stars aligned, there's something to be said about that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in like the setup and getting their settings perfect and getting the moving the snake's head to nudge it slightly in one direction to make it look perfect. If you just kind of get out there and let the snake do its thing and let it get comfortable, and you end up with some different shots, some interesting shots, instead of the same kind of cookie cutter of like the same exact sort of profile.
For sure.
So I really just go out there and figure it out. Like I'm not an expert. I don't really pride myself on any bit of knowledge or anything like that. But I can promise you, I bust ass and I go out there and I do my best. I just try to make it work with what I've got. So flash wise, I mean, to answer your question about like night photography, I've got that TT-18 something flash, and most of the time it's just mounted right to the top. I have used the transmitter and it works when I've got it going, but I've used socks for diffusers. I've used T-shirts for diffusers. I don't have a real big diffusers. Yeah. I just I borrowed diffusers from my friends, so just kind of like whatever's working. To be honest, I definitely prefer daytime photography. It's just less equipment to work with, and if you can get it at the right time during the sunrise or sunset, those types of images are just hard to beat.
100%. Some of the lighting in when we was in Arizona and when we were in Utah, the lighting just before sunset, it looks like you're putting effects over the picture, but it's natural lighting. It's incredible.
It's just a different atmosphere.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Actually,
I was just looking at your Willardy picture when it's head on. That's a stunning. That's a really great capture.
I was gonna bring that up too, because I obviously, so you've got Willardy, you've got Klobs, you've got Leps. Did you get Price Eye?
No, dude, no. And I've tried for him twice. I've been buzzed by one, and that little sucker just dipped out. I didn't even get eyes on it. I just know I heard the buzz, scrambled around. I was just looking in all directions, and it was probably deep in a rock pile. But yeah, that's the big montane species that I got to knock out. I regard them very highly. I don't know what other people think about them. Sometimes I hear people calling them like night snakes and shit. But to me, anything that's unique is cool. So like the highest elevation rattlesnake species, there's something to be said about that. And just the way that you go out to herp for them is so cool. You're like scaling along the side of some peak, some mountain peak, looking for this rare species that only exists in this unique habitat. Like, to me, it's just the coolest thing ever. So I really want to get one of those. It just hasn't happened yet. I'd like to do a trip one of these days and just target them, but hasn't happened.
No, that is on the cards for Phil and I. That is our white whale.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
How many times have you guys tried for them?
Oh, I've only been one trip.
Yeah,
we did try hard for it.
Yeah, one trip, but multiple locations over multiple days, and the entirety of the day. So
yeah,
that's rough. That's rough. Did you get any bycatchers or anything at least?
Oh yeah, we saw other things, but yeah, I mean, you're so right. The actual effort that's required. I mean, you can't. It's not something you can road cruise or anything like that. You've got a long walk in at altitude, and you're going to be up stupid early because you want to be up to altitude at the right time. And the habitat is so difficult because, as you say, it's talus. So you've got to be really lucky. But yeah, we've tried hard.
Yeah, and like not to make us sound like morons, but we did get 7 species of Crotalus in 7 days. So like, nice. We did pretty good.
Yeah,
but but we got to go back for that little blue bastard.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I
Now,
feel the same way.
have you thought about getting Obscurus at all or no?
Remind me again. I'm pretty bad with my.
The other ridge nose.
Oh yeah. So the New Mexico ridge nose. I'd like to do it, man. It's to me like before I die, I want to make sure I've seen every rattlesnake. I know the taxonomy is always changing, but I really would like to be able to say at some point I've seen every subspecies of rattlesnake. So certainly that's on the list. I just really haven't found myself out there in a convenient sort of time, and I don't know many people that are out there to like go visit for any good reason.
Right.
So it'll probably be one of those deals where I do a road trip to Arizona, and on the way back, I'm like, fuck it, let's just give it a shot, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know, man. I couldn't even compare the two. They're both so cool.
Oh yeah.
But they're definitely something I want to see.
I see. Also, I'm just, as we're talking, I'm just looking through your pictures and hating you. The red diamond, that's a stunner as well.
Yeah, man. That is almost my lifer, because the only one I'd ever seen prior was this teeny little itty bitty baby, which was great, but it's nothing like seeing a big old full size red diamond out basking. We actually saw multiple out basking.
That is really high on my list. Like yourself, my intention when I finish the European list, hopefully next year, I should have hopefully seen everything in Europe, is just to nail all the rattlesnakes.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how many I've got on a minute. I think 10 or 11.
Okay, you're up there.
I'm getting there. Hopefully more when we finish the Florida trip in October. And then back to Utah to do the ones we missed in Utah. But yeah, the red diamond is way up there on my list of things I want to see. Stunning. Absolutely stunning.
That's interesting. I never, in all honesty, they didn't stand out to me. I kind of looked at them as like a cooler Western Diamondback. But man, I can appreciate your appreciation for them. They're definitely cool snakes, and they're big, man. I don't scoff at any big rattlesnake. Anything that's big and has rattle is gonna be impressive to me.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Or little. I'm super stoked to see pygmies in Florida.
Ooh, yeah. I just did my first North Florida trip. Well, I've been to Florida, but it was the first time I'd like really hit it hard for herping, at least in the north. And that was like the number one for me. Was I just wanted to see any Cistrurus. I'd never seen any of the pygmies or any of the sagas. So man, I was pumped. We saw 2 dusky pygmies. I got some great photographs of them, and yeah, the pygmies are so cool. And like you said, small rattlesnakes. I mean, some of them are the coolest, honestly.
Yeah, and dusky is the best.
You think so?
Hands down.
Those red Carolina pygmies.
Strecker Eye is the best.
No. Look, red Carolinas are gorgeous. Strecker Eye is gorgeous, but the slate blue back color with the rusty saddles and the black dots of the dusky is just.
It's hard to argue with that.
It's hard to argue.
Hard to argue with it.
Yeah, nice, but my Strecker Eye bright pink. Come on.
I don't know, man.
The Westerns are like, to me, the more impressive find. I think they're harder to find. So in that regard, there'd maybe be like the one I would pick if I had to choose. That is a nice pygmy.
That's nice. Yeah.
He's showing us.
I mean, to find that in the wild. I mean,
mate,
it's in the room next to me. It had to be.
Yeah, I will be giddy if I find one in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since on the end of our trip, we're going to be in that spot where all the weird aberrant ones are.
Oh,
that's going to be crazy.
That's cool.
Well, speaking of that, do you keep any herpetoculture at all?
Yeah, it's funny you ask, man. I used to kind of, I wouldn't say I was against it by any means, but I just wasn't interested in it for the longest time. I kind of just enjoyed seeing snakes in the wild, and it wasn't something that appealed to me too much. But of course, throughout the years of just being the snake guy that all my friends and family know about. What happens is people just pawn their snakes off on me. And so
Okay.
I say it like it's a bad thing. I've got a little surprise for you at the end of this little segue. But so I started off just getting hand-me-down snakes. I ended up with a couple of California king snakes, and then a buddy gave me a Sonoran lyre snake. His collection
Nice.
got too big, so I was pretty pumped about that. That's a cool snake to have. And then a friend of mine, Left Coast Herping on Instagram, he had his own little project going on where he took the California king snakes found in San Diego, right? And he didn't actually go out and collect them, right? But just conceptually, how they have that stripe, the San Diego stripe, right?
Yeah.
So it's a black snake with a white stripe.
Right.
What he did was reversed it. So he's got a white snake with a black stripe.
Well, that's
Looks
cool.
super cool. He gave me one of those just as a kind gesture, and I gladly took it in. And
Nice.
then two more snakes. The two more exciting ones. One is a reticulated python. A work guy was like, "Yeah, man, it got out. My wife was pissed at me, and she's thinking about, getting rid of it. I don't know what to do. It's like 6 feet, 8 feet." And I'm just like, "Oh gosh, all right, let me take it." It's a bit of a project and a handful, but the last thing I want is, somebody releasing a snake or something. Not to say that guy was going to do that, but
Yeah, but still better to be in your care than just dumped on someone's doorstep.
exactly. Or in the wrong hands with somebody that just is
Right.
like overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, that snake's a serious freaking snake. Like, I don't really get afraid of snakes these days, but like something about the size of that snake, man, when I go in to do stuff in the cage and like when I handle it, it's not odd for it to strike at me every now and again. So it does get a little nerve wracking when you're handling it, and it's just like swimming up the side of your body, sniffing your head, and it's like, ooh, I don't know, buddy, just be careful.
Yeah.
And then so the one I think you guys will like the most, this is a completely compulsive decision that happened not yesterday, but the day before.
Nice.
I went ahead and picked up a blue Insularis, my first hot snake. It's a little baby right now. I'm just
that's a very hot snake for your first hot snake.
Yeah.
yeah, well, no, it's the so maybe I got bad information, but the guy that sold it to me was saying that this subspecies is a lot mild than like the white lips that are on the mainland in Southeast Asia. It's supposed to be more like
no.
No,
Not at all, man.
So,
mate, completely the reverse. The blue Insularis is
so the Komodo Island, like lesser. So those are more.
Yeah.
More.
Way
venomous.
more.
Yeah.
Way
Holy
more.
shit. So
Yeah,
I was under the impression this thing is like a copperhead bite or something.
No.
Oh fuck no. No.
I gotta brush over this topic again with the guy. No, I think he's a good guy. I wouldn't. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Or
Yeah,
something,
we could talk more about it off camera and
Yeah,
kind of go from there. But yeah.
No, mate, that's hot as fuck.
Yeah. Look on the bright side, though. You have,
Absolutely.
look on the bright side is husbandry is fairly simple. Nothing that you can't do. Handling, you've probably handled worse animals in the field.
Sure.
But at the same time, the anti-venom for that is comparably relatively inexpensive, and you don't need much of it to help you.
Well, that's good to hear, because I was
that
worried
being
you guys
said,
were going to say like there is no anti-venom in the US or something.
No, there is, and it's very usually. I mean, I don't. Again, this is anecdotal, and don't take this to heart. But most people receive, less than 8 vials, less than 5 vials of it. I mean, you've heard cases of like 1 vial saving someone, but at the same time, that shit will knock you on your ass. So
I'm glad we did this because not that I would be, not careful in the first place, but it's good to know. Good to know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an absolutely stunning snake. I mean, as
so
far
cool.
as far as venomous snakes go, it is right up there as one of the most, in my humble opinion, is one of the most beautiful venomous snakes.
That entire genus is so cool. And it's hard to even pick like what the coolest is, but a blue snake, man, that's just not a color you see often in the wild. And it's also the fact that they're found on the same island that the Komodo dragon from. There's so many reasons why that's just a lovable species, man. They're just
I mean, I've
stunning.
in the past,
and honestly,
like I said, I've kept a lot of trims in the past, but I always shied away from the insularis purely because they're quite hot.
Oh, gosh,
They
I'll have to
also-
keep this
Yeah, did
info away from my mom. She just had like the lecture about how it's bad to do this, and I was like, that's fine, Mom.
Yeah, it's fine, Mom. Mom, it's fine.
But at the end of the day, a venomous snake is a venomous snake.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're not going to get, you're not going to get bit. So it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And you could have anaphylactic reaction from the most mild thing on the planet. You could from a honeybee, you know what I mean? So foreign protein is foreign protein. I will say this though, just for your husbandry aspect, they get way bigger than people think. So it's not going to be like your retic or anything, but as time goes on, people think, oh, it only gets like 10 inches. And no, I've seen almost 3 foot ones. So just be mindful that
that was about what I expected.
Okay.
I was told 2 feet, or at least that's what Google told me. So, okay, that's good. I won't have like a massive snake on my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so hilarious.
They could also be quite feisty as well.
Very much so. Very spunky.
Yeah.
He's a little fidgety. I mean, I threw some mouse feet in front of him just to see what he'd do. It's probably getting there to where he's settled in enough for me to actually properly try feeding him. But he's a little fidgety, man, a little squirmy, and kind of more than I expected. But I'm excited, man. I'm not too worried about it, even after hearing that apparently. What's funny is like the reason why I got this snake was I thought, okay, it's not like worse than a rattlesnake or anything, so
it's different.
That should be fine, So it's just kind of hilarious that you guys are telling me quite the opposite, but I'm not sweating it too much. Obviously, I'll have to be a little extra careful, but it's still a venomous snake. I still knew what I was getting into when I got it. So nothing really changed.
Techniques will be the same whether it was whatever it was. It's all the same technique, and you should take the same level of care with a, dendrophilia as you would with a taipan. It's as Phil said, venom's venom. Nobody wants to get bit, so.
And please don't think that we're upset or shaming you or anything. No, it's awesome. No. It's absolutely awesome. It's funny to us that someone would actually tell you that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I just want to touch base with this guy again and see if it was a misunderstanding, or if he maybe he doesn't know fully. I don't know. You would expect he would know. But I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm not like totally embarrassed. I'm just glad that I know now. And you've handled way worse toxic stuff. I mean, like Mojaves and Ruber and all that stuff.
Sonoran. Corals and stuff. It's a cracking addition to any collection. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Got to be honest, I like the yellow ones as well.
I think they're great too. They're actually, I think, more rare in the States, right? As far as keeping goes.
Super hard to get. Really underrated, and super hard to get because everybody obviously just wants the blue ones and breeds the blue ones.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't really know where I'm going with it, to be honest. Like, I don't see myself as being the guy that has a collection of 60 snakes or whatever, but man, if I catch another itch like I did the other day and just have to have one, and that keeps happening once a year, you never know.
Well, I mean, it's a fantastic start to a venomous collection.
It really is. I mean, You can never go wrong with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I'll probably max out at a few. I want to get a croat. I'm probably thinking white speck. Maybe it's a little
Nice.
cliche, but
No.
I have a personal attachment to those things. Some great memories with them, and they're just, man, I don't care what you say. Those are some of the coolest rattlesnakes ever. You know, just
if I saw a proper white Panamint in the wild, I would. I just don't think I'd leave the spot. I think I'd just sit down and be watching it constantly.
Yeah, that's
just
it. Your trip is a success, regardless what day you're on.
Yeah, 100%.
All it takes is one, and you're happy.
Yep.
Yeah. Superb.
That's cool. I look forward to seeing your vivarium set up with the blue and Solaris.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a great species to decorate and vivscape or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I'm pretty just in general, I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't have a lot of flashy, fancy items, but I think for the setup for this snake, I'm gonna go all out. I mean, it's got to be impressive, right? You want people to walk up and go, holy shit, and whoa, what is that? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you thought about a setup as it's getting bigger? Are you going to go Exoterra, or are you going to go make something yourself, or are you going to go wooden viv, or what's your style?
Black
box cages.
I forget the name. It might be that. But what I had in mind was one of those black box. I don't know if that's a brand or whatever, but okay. So what I pictured was a black cage with the swinging door. I don't know. What do you guys recommend for that? I've kind of been pondering what's the safer, easier way for hot snake. Is it those swinging doors that open like a hinged door? Or do you guys like the ones you pull from the top and pull downward?
It comes down to personal preference with that one. Because they are relatively stationary, they're not really that flighty. You can kind of get away with the opening of the doors, not necessarily the sliders. However, you'll always remember that because it's arboreal, it's like Velcro, man. They just grab onto something and they're stuck to it. And those opening doors, there's always going to be a gap. Those hinging doors, there's always going to be a gap that they can get through, and now it gets stuck, and vice versa. But I also like with arboreal stuff to have a somewhat removable lid so I can access the animal from the top as well. But you got to remember it's venomous, so now you have to have a double lid where your screen would be, so that way you've got at least 1.5 inches or 2 inches of gap that is a protected. So if somebody leans on the tank, or somebody puts their elbow on it, or you put your hand on it and the snake strikes at the heat source, it's not going to bite through both of the screens. So
that's a good point.
But I mean, Nipper kept way more of them than I have.
I like Exoterra, the big Exoterras, I think, for trims, because by and large the humidity in the vivs is going to be really high.
Yeah.
So you want something that can handle high humidity without deteriorating over time. So I quite like that. Exactly as Phil said, I like to be able, particularly if you're going to have to do something serious, I like to be able to remove the lid and come down rather than go in from the front. And obviously Exoterra lends itself to that. But as Phil says, you need a double skin so that, there's not really penetration through the single skin lid. But Exoterra, what's the other one that I use over here?
Zoomed,
yeah. Komodo, any of those.
Okay.
Yeah, and Zilla makes a really nice single door. Arboreal enclosure has a nice high substrate dam. And it's a single door instead of having the doubles. And I kept Purple Maculata in multiple of those. And they even come with a plastic, I guess it's like a cover. It's a plastic cover to keep the humidity in. And not only does it work for doing that, but now you've just made your bite-proof lid.
Yeah. For me, for the Exoterras, because of the way they're constructed, for all of mine, I had glass cut. So 6mm glass, which drops into the natural space on top of the vivs. And same thing. Keeps the humidity in, but there's nothing coming through that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick y'all's brains more
Yeah.
off the air because
100%.
really, yeah, I'm not an experienced keeper, and I want to make sure I do this right.
Would
So
you be
yeah,
going
I've
for?
got some time because it's just tiny right now, so
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
keep it in something small for the time being. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to do my research and get something that'll be functional, that'll look cool.
Are you going for
So I'm all ears.
naturally planted, or?
I do like to use natural plants. Not necessarily like doesn't have to be exactly the species that the snake is, native to or whatever. But I do like just the concept of having something that's alive in there with it, plant wise. I've never done a bioactive, but do you guys have any success with that? Do you?
I've got not a lot. I've got bioactive tanks. The only thing I will say is you've got to sort of have a happy in my humble opinion, with venomous, you've got to have a kind of happy medium. I would say naturalistic rather than bioactive, because you need to be able to access the viv with hooks and be able to maneuver the snake easily with hooks. And if you've got this fabulous jungle scape in there, it's going to look amazing. But if you do need to get in, remove an eye cap or whatever you've got to do, or retrieve food that hasn't been eaten or whatever, you don't want too much of a happy medium between the two.
Yeah, you'll be really pissed when you have to rip out all your live plants because the snake is being an utter pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But I mean, I for when I was keeping trims, I all of the trims that I kept, they was all naturally planted because I think they do really well. The plants bring the extra humidity and hold the humidity. The snakes naturally just love to curl up in the middle of the plants. They feel really secure in there. So I think I see people. I don't know. Everyone's got different styles, but I see people, particularly in America, keeping arboreal venomous in the most sterile conditions as they would green tree pythons, on the little white tubes and stuff like that. That snake's not happy. I'm sorry, but that's not natural. No. That's not natural for the snake. There's not the cover's not there. The actual feel for the snake to coil on a branch, it's not like that. So I do, I always favour natural branches and natural plants. I'd say I don't think I would go full bioactive for venomous, but I would have a natural substrate in there. But I would probably every once in a while be taking the whole lot out and cleaning rather than just leaving it to be bioactive. But that's just me. I mean, a lot of people will keep their venomous completely bioactive. Some will keep them completely sterile. It's whatever works for you personally.
Yeah. And you can look at it too as because it's a neonate now, you've got at least 5-6 months of the ability to keep it fairly sterile, whether it be paper towels or newspaper, so that you can monitor, poop and monitor if there's any parasites or shedding issues. And then while you're doing that, you're a little like self-quarantine, you're building the viv. And because you don't want to put a tiny little cocktail straw into an exoterra where it can literally slide right through an air vent,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. No, that's good advice.
Yeah, as an adult, that is going to look stunning in one of the large exoterras. The 90 high.
Yeah.
90 high, 90 wide. That's going to look incredible. If you plant that out, that will look amazing.
Yeah, I feel like there's this little trade-off. I mean, and you're alluding to like functionality, but in terms of aesthetics, you do too much and all of a sudden the snake just disappears and you almost can't even see the snake. And so you also don't want it to be this sterile environment either where you're just not making this, you're not enriching the life of the 100%. Animal at all. So there's a nice middle ground, I think. And that's the goal. I picture maybe one live plant, maybe a light vine. If anything gets too thick, then that could probably present
you
issues.
Can't go wrong. Just put porthos in there because it's indestructible. The snake can crawl over it and it's not going to ruin it.
Yeah.
And if you destroy and kill the plant, ripping it out, who cares? It's puppets.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget your lighting. You need to sort your lighting out. Don't be one of these people that doesn't light their snakes up properly.
Yeah.
LED lighting, that blue will absolutely pop.
I saw some
phone.
YouTube video really pushing the halogens for insularis. To be honest, I'm not totally sure.
Well, like I use the microhalogens on my stuff, and as long as you've got enough like ability for the snake to get away or get right up on it, I love those microhalogens. However, if you're using it as a hotspot, great. If you're using it to like just as lighting, I would definitely not do that. I would get LEDs.
Mm. Yeah, you know, insularis, they don't want it super hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was
just
told
always
like
kept ours.
84 at the absolute max during like
Yeah.
the hottest part of the day.
Well, I was gonna say 85 for a hotspot, but like 75 for ambient, the rest of the enclosure. You know?
a decent night drop as well.
Yeah, for sure. I was scrolling through my phone looking for Viv pics for Tremercerus that I was going to send you. So I'll send you them later.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'll soak up all the knowledge I can.
Yeah, man. Well, you're doing good, man. You are. Especially since you had the wherewithal to think about this stuff. Because so many people, they don't think about this stuff. They just say, oh, I'll just throw in a 10-gallon, call it a day. You can't do that, you know?
Yeah, man. You see some people, and I'm not judging too much. I understand they've got a passion and they love snakes just like I do. You'll sometimes see collections and it's just like hundreds of snakes in these like tiny little enclosures. And a lot of them is just like a water bowl and a paper towel. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking it necessarily, but I this is the first time I've been like really like so excited about a captive snake.
That's
you know, I
cool.
haven't ever just been like pumped. Like I get home and I'm like,
good.
We walk by and just look at this guy.
That's cool.
So with that comes, I think, the motivation to really like set up the coolest possible enclosure and do things the right way. I got a lot to learn, so I'll be bugging you guys, no doubt.
100%. There's no dramas. And think about your feeding as well. They're not massive rodent feeders.
Yeah.
So no, you probably don't want to go down the route of lizards and amphibians, which I get, but do think lots of avian food.
Okay, that's good advice. I hadn't heard that yet. I knew when they were neonates, people did have a lot of success with the lizards and stuff. But so maybe some like baby little birds, huh?
Button quail, something like that.
Day-old button quail.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you can buy them by the bag. I think Rodent Pro does like these online order things where they just have so many quail, and you can get, I think it's like 100 button quail day olds for like $75.
Oh, that's
something
great.
to that.
I figured it'd be significantly more than the rodents, but that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
And then you've got your Asian food markets where you can't go wrong.
Yeah, frog legs, baby.
You get your frog legs. I use frog legs for so many things.
Yeah, chicken hearts.
Chicken, yeah,
Nice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Damn, you guys are just pumping me with knowledge here.
Yeah, I would say for most of the trims, I never fed a great deal of rodents. It's not really their natural.
Yeah. See, I got them on it so that I always got baby trims onto pinkies, because if at least I knew that I had something I could feed them that was plentiful. But the goal was to get them fat on those so that I can have a staple and then transition into either avian or frog legs or what have you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I mean, at the moment, for most of my snakes, apart from the kings and milks, most of my stuff is all on birds. Very rarely feed rodents now.
Yeah.
So you guys both have, I assume, pretty extensive collections of hot snakes, or is it all types or what?
I've not got so many now because for reasons that we won't go into. But I have had reasonably large collection of venomous. Phil has got a ridiculously large collection of venomous, which seems to grow by the day.
I don't know what happens, man. They just show up.
Yeah, I keep getting little texts from him and go, "Oh my god, I've just got 5 of these."
Well, see, that's the problem, is that like I get an opportunity to get 6 or 7 cerastes, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna raise them up, I'm gonna get them good, and then I'm gonna let them shed a bunch because they're all imports, and I'll pick out the best like 2.2, right? The best, like 2 pairs, and I'll sell the rest. No, I still have them all. I'm just an idiot.
And what happened yesterday, Phil?
Yeah, yesterday I did a little bit of horse trading, and for those who are not frequent listeners, I'm very much addicted to Africa and all of its amazingness, and I acquired 5 new snakes. I got 2 neonate Cape Puffs and 2 adult breeder Cape Puffs.
And they are stunning.
They are just
They
are electric.
absolutely
Yeah,
stunning.
and I always loved high contrast with Bitis, whether it be a dark animal with light patterns or a light animal with dark patterns, and these are just so rich jet velvety black with crazy Pikachu yellow patterning. And
I actually thought when the picture popped up on my phone, it was a small thumbnail, and I looked and I thought, oh my god, he's got Ruguenensis.
yeah,
because the colours
yeah,
just incredible.
They very much have that high pixelation Atheris look to them. And then at the same time, while I was doing the horse trading for the puff adders, I went up getting a Sundaval's garter snake as well. So I don't know. I may be the only guy in the country with it, but it's still cool. It's gonna just add it to the dirt snake collection.
I was gonna say you won't see it. It'll just you've got a drawer full of dirt. But
and I did. This is actually my first time ever working with, experiencing anything in Ellipsoida, which is the African garter snakes. And I've done my fair bit of homework, man, and it looked to be of appropriate size. So I used an appropriate size hook, and I brought the tail to me, and I tailed the animal, and it tongue flicked and looked totally normal. It didn't twitch. It didn't jerk. It didn't flop around. It just rode the hook perfect when I tailed it. And it gave me the little look to the side, like, hey, human, how are you doing? You know, oh, you're my new captor. Okay, cool. And the minute it saw soil, it was like a tarpon diving through the sea.
So cool.
It was so fast. It just went right through the soil. And this is it's a jungle mix, sphagnum moss and peat moss fluffed up, wet with a sprayer, and then I threw cypress mulch on top of that, just like as a top layer, and that thing cut through like a hot knife through butter. And I was like, man, imagine if it did that on the hook, you know?
Yeah.
So
you have got some weird shit in your collection now.
Oh man, TIA baby, TIA. Love that African shit.
Yeah, I just don't get it. It's none of it interests me whatsoever. Except for Atheris is the only thing that I've kept really that's African. If you're not counting Egypt with the Cerestes and stuff like that.
Well, I really the only thing I've got right now is I've got African venomous, I've got North American colubrids, and Montane rattlers. Oh, and forgive me, Australian pythons. They're in there. Yeah. Don't judge me, listeners. So
we'll speak to Jack in a couple of weeks, and he'll be going, "Oh yeah, I've got loads of Montane rattlers. Got some taipans because a bloke told me they weren't really dangerous."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's one of those. Probably almost like compared to like an addict who's like aware that their addiction is like creeping up on them, you know. It's something I've been resisting for a while. Like, I don't really need to keep snakes. I'll go find them in the wild. And then they just started showing up in my house. Yep. And then all of a sudden here I am seeking them out and paying for them and stuff.
And so all of a sudden you've got a separate building in the garden.
That's it.
That's what happens.
Oh man!
You'll be walking around. What do you call it? B&Q we call it here. What do you call it? Home Depot. You'll be walking around Home Depot and not be able to walk past all the plastic tubs without thinking, "Oh."
Yeah, some of my buddies, it's like I think there actually is a level of too much where it's just like, how do you even run the electricity in this joint? Like, there's snakes everywhere. I don't know if I'll ever get that big. And, you know, maybe one of these days I'll find like a wife or something. And I don't know how she's gonna feel about all this shit, but we'll figure that out when we get there. You know.
Exactly.
Well, the trick is to find a significant other who thinks it's cool and appreciates it, respects you for your passions, but isn't necessarily deep dove in themselves.
I like that take.
Because
That's
both
good.
Nipper and I found fantastic partners who can appreciate a snake. You know, if you hand them the snake and they think, oh, this is really cool, they love learning about it, but it's our thing. You go do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Leave you be, and they
100%.
respect our thing. You know.
I think you're completely right. Like I'm a social creature, and yeah, having a girlfriend's great and everything, but I think there is like an amount of space I need, and like my herping time is that's my time to get
100%.
out and just
Yeah.
like reset the
100%.
clock and be alone sometimes. And yeah, if I couldn't get that alone time, it might be too much fun, too much of seeing somebody. So I agree. I think it's nice to have somebody that like doesn't hate it. They're not repulsed by snakes. They're not always pissed off when you're going out
Right.
and doing your own thing, but they're not there 24/7 either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And it's even better when they do want to come with you. They want to come along with you, whether it's just road cruising or flipping stuff, but it's not all the time. You know what I mean? And at least some of the best conversations I've ever had with my fiance was when we were just road cruising.
Yeah.
And, you know, I get off work, she gets off work, and I call her and say, hey, I'm out. You know, what do you want to do for dinner? And she's like, well, let's just go grab a snack and we'll go road cruising. No problem. And like 90% of the time, she doesn't get out of the car because she doesn't care about ribbon snakes and water snakes and, you know, blue garters or whatever. But the conversations we have in that time is some of the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
Cool. So talking of your herping, what's your big goals now? What's your species that you are absolutely choking to go and see? And don't say you haven't got any, because everybody's got a see. Every herper has got in the back of their mind a little list of, I'd really want to see that.
A little list?
Well, mine's huge, but mine's global. But,
You know, man, that's a tough one. I in general have a lot of time making a tough time making decisions. I just think everything is awesome. But on this one,
I'll make it easy for you then.
Okay, what's that?
Top 3 rattlesnakes that you want to see.
So
In order.
I gotta go. Ooh, shit, in order. Man, this is a tough one. I don't even know if I believe what I'm saying, but I'm gonna start with an eastern diamondback. It's the largest rattlesnake we've got. You know, can't go wrong on that. I'm gonna have to throw Price Eye up there in the top 3. Highest elevation, very rare, hard to find. And I may, man, this is a tough one. I may kick myself for saying this later, but I'm gonna go with a Desert Massasauga.
Nice.
I'd like to see
Nice
one.
choice.
They're unique, you know. They're
Yeah,
not something you see a ton of.
That's a good
So,
choice. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think generally speaking, herping goals, it's more croak focused these days, more rattlesnake focused. I've come to find over the years that like I love all snakes. I love wildlife in general. Like I don't want people to think I'm only a herp person. But for sure, there is something special to me about rattlesnakes and venomous snakes in general that really gets my heart pumping, gets me excited. And so I think that's kind of where I'm going to be directing most of my focus for the next couple of years is on finding those snakes that just get me pumping, right? And goals wise, you know, I'm really pushing for it. I'm really trying to hopefully one day make a career out of this. It'll be in an unorthodox manner. It won't be really an academia route. I think that ship has sailed. But my goal is to continue just building my professional career and putting myself in a situation where I can afford the time and cost to go out and do these things. And hopefully somewhere along the way, man, I just get lucky and somebody offers to either pay me to do what I'm doing, or I'm able to make money off of advertisements or something like that, and I can just do this full time. I don't need a lot, man. If I could make enough to kind of get by, shit, I'd be happy. So that goal is one that's been like, it's been out of the picture for the longest time. It's been something that's kind of like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to keep posting and doing what I love, but I'm not expecting much. And recently I've gotten some traction, man. I went from like, it took me maybe 4 or 5 years to get to 4,000 followers. And in the course of like a month or two, popped up to almost 20 now off of like 1 or 2 videos that just happened to take off. And it's kind of ridiculous, and I don't know what to make of it fully, but like, it's funny because I was just starting to give up on it. I was just starting to be like, well, yeah, I don't think this is happening. I ought to just focus on work. And then sure as shit, I kind of got this second wind, and I kept posting on a daily basis, and boom, I got a lucky one. And it gave me that motivation to like see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, maybe if I just keep posting and keep grinding and keep doing this thing, it could work out. It could work out where I'm able to do this full time one day.
For sure, man.
Fantastic.
For sure. Actually, just going down and like it was. I knew the moment that you blew up, and it started with the red lep.
Yeah.
And that red lep, as of right now, I'm looking on your Instagram, is at 347,000 views. After that, it was the I'm trying to not play the sound. It was the Aatrox on the road that sprung into action.
It was Veritas, but yeah.
Oh, it was Veritas? Okay.
Yeah.
So the prairie that sprung into action at 62,000 views.
That's mad.
But that red croat, man, that red lep, 347,000 views.
So you'll get this. There's one with 7.1 million right now, and it's like almost an exact replica of that Veritas one. There's 2 Veritas videos. One was in the morning, one was in the afternoon. They're both very similar. I walk up to the snake, it springs into action. But one of them, for whatever reason, caught more than the other. What's funny enough, I think the lep was what really got me personally going, but a buddy of mine, we were just on that North Florida trip, a couple months ago. It was in May, and we videotaped the same corn snake side by side. We're filming the exact same snake. Okay. I have like a side profile view. He's doing a head-on view, and I post it maybe like 30 minutes or an hour later. He posts his video, similar captions, nothing too different. All of a sudden I notice like 5 new followers, 6 new followers, 50 new followers. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So I can look at the video, and it's got like 5,000 views or something, which to me at the time I was like, holy shit, okay, this video's taken off. Wow. That's why I'm getting all these followers. Well, I come to find out my buddy Justin, his Instagram is j.dolls photo wall. He's on TikTok as the red bearded herper, and Facebook, I think it's he just changed the name. Pardon me. But anyways, so he posts the same video, and it gets 245 million views. It goes fucking viral. And so I get like a few thousand followers just by association. I was just tagged in it, right? And so that was sort of, for me, what kind of reminded me, like, there's obviously the sting of like, dang, I was that close. But at the same time, it's like, hey, this can happen. I just watched it happen, and I was right there for it. I was just,
it's wild.
It's interesting what the algorithm picks up. I don't understand it.
I'm looking at his, I'm looking at yours, and there's, like you said, a lot of the same things. I could not, at least on my view, there was no other video besides that red lep that was that many views. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, or maybe
I might have pinned it to the top.
Okay, let me see if it's at the top. And then, sorry, I'm getting feedback from my 7.1 million. Wow.
That's madness.
Wow.
That's like 90% of the reason why I have grown so much in the last couple months.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. It just kind of takes one video. The trick is keeping the momentum. Like, as soon as that happened, I didn't slow down. I just kept posting, and I'm hoping that I'll catch another lucky break and maybe eventually be in a position where I can start throwing my weight around, talking to brands and seeing if, there's mutually beneficial. I was talking to a light bar company saying, hey, I know I'm not your normal target market. I'm not a car guy. My followers aren't car guys, but you got a lot of people that spend all night long road cruising for snakes that would probably be interested in seeing a light bar setup and seeing how it affects the snakes out on the road. So, I don't want to I don't want to sell out, right? I don't want my Instagram to just be a bunch of like ads and stuff. That's not what I'm going for. But I do think it's fair to try to take the opportunities you've got and make something out of it,
Yeah. Just don't be the douchey guy that's like, look at this corn snake. Isn't it amazing?
Man, it's tough because you see guys go out and they just do what is obviously going to get the most attention.
Yeah.
And it's rarely what is like ethical or just like, you just know that it's like not what you should be doing.
It's just
and
cringy,
you watch them just make it and they get all the viewers, they get all the traction. It's just like, it's tough sometimes sitting back and trying to do things the right way. And yeah, I was really thankful that I kind of got a lucky break. The snake did it all for me. It did all the crazy shit. I didn't have to say anything or do anything or freak the snake out. It just reacted the way any rattlesnake would. And Viridis they're poppy. They're fiery little fuckers and caught the attention of a lot of people. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The sad part about it is reading through the comments. I've never really been faced with the reality of just how much everybody hates snakes. And it was kind of sad just to read through and watch. And that's why I think it took off is there's so much argument in the comments about kill it. No, don't kill it. Murder it. It's just so much black and white and so much misinformation. And I did my best to kind of be positive and respond to a few comments, but man, it's just, some people aren't going to change,
Nah. But you're killing it, man.
Appreciate it.
Regardless of the followers, regardless of the likes and the comments, you're absolutely slaying it, and it's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. That's what it's all about, first and foremost. That'll never change. I'm gonna be out here doing this regardless. I've always been doing it.
Hell yeah!
So it's cool. It's just happy to celebrate a small win where, for once, me spending all my time and money looking for snakes actually looks like it might possibly potentially maybe one day possibly pay off, but
for sure, man, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, where can people get a hold of you or see these photos we've been talking about? Obviously Instagram.
Yep, that's my main platform is Roadtrip Monster, one word, on Instagram. I have recently expanded out into, I've invigorated the old YouTube channel that I used to have called TX Herper 161. I changed the name to Roadtrip Monster, but I've heard that it's hard to find me that way. So TX Herper 161 is my YouTube deal. You'll see some old videos from my old herping days, 15 years ago, and then you'll see some new shorts. And then, I'm also on TikTok as Roadtrip Monster. And
nice.
I have a Twitter. I think I've posted twice on it. So also Facebook. Yeah, Facebook is one that I've really neglected every platform except for Instagram. So I'm trying to kind of branch out into other ones. So
yeah, man.
Glad you asked.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. It was great meeting you guys. You guys are really, really cool individuals. And I hope that if the stars align someday, we can get out in the field and poke around.
Oh, mate,
absolutely.
I think that's a given. Just before you came on, Phil and I were talking about we must go back to, Phil's been, I haven't been, must go to Texas to
please
see some snakes. I haven't seen, I really want to see, one of my most wanted is to see the blacktail rattlesnake.
They're really cool, man.
I forgive my brain's gone dead. Which one's on Narcissus?
That's the one in Texas.
That's the one in Texas. Yeah, that's the one I haven't seen that one. So that's the one I need to see. That'd be cool.
Yeah, man. The hills of Sanderson call to me.
100%.
Oh man. It's great out there. It's really it's just a different style of herping. And yeah, if you guys ever go out there, let me know. Don't feel obligated either. I know there's probably a lot of people, and a lot of things you want to do and see. And but if you're ever just in my neck of the woods, or if the timing works out, just let me know, man. I'm pretty spur of the moment.
100%. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Nice.
Well, this has been episode 17 with the Road Trip Monster. I'm Phil Wolf, and as always, we're joined by Nipper Reed. Look at him in all of his glory, his cute little headphones, his cup of tea.
It's very late here. It's all right for you. It's probably like mid-afternoon for you. For
me, you
gotta
go to bed. You gotta go to bed.
Getting on for midnight over here. Some of us work hard for a living.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's a shovel that's missing its leaner somewhere. But yes.
Yeah, just huge thanks to Jack for coming on. Literally loving what you're doing, loving your photographs and your YouTube stuff. Thank you to Phil for putting up with me as always. Folks, thank you for joining us. You could be listening to any podcast, but you chose to listen to us, so we're extremely grateful for that. Please like and subscribe. Put a nice review down if you've got time.
And for God's sake, follow Nipper on Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram. This bloody young man here has got millions of followers, and I can't even get over 1,000. So, sort it out, folks.
Yeah, and all joking aside, if you are listening to this podcast, please follow the podcast's Instagram. It's Venom Exchange Radio. So I was actually shocked to find out how many people listen to the show and didn't even know we had an Instagram. It's like, well, how did you find out about anything? I only put it up there
because you're so active on Instagram.
I try to be.
So many stuff. You did really well.
They don't care. I don't use the TikTok beats. That's why.
No, I'm just old. I don't get it.
All right.
But thank you very much, folks.
Yeah.
And we will speak to you again shortly. You be safe out there.
Thanks, y'all.